Today we will show you how to use statistics in Optio to improve your manufacturing day-to-day operations. We have set up a sample manufacturing process where apparel gets made. First, paper is printed with decals, then transferred onto fabric in the press, cut at cutter 1 or cutter 2, then sent to a staging station from which the sewers can select what they're working on before it gets to quality control and shipped. Now we can see the line is okay balanced. We have some areas in which stations are orange, which means that a lot of WIP is being stuck there. We can see this also in the traveler view and see that at the press and at sewing we currently have the most work in process waiting. We also see that quality control is currently empty. That means the people who are working there have nothing to do, which is not great. Also, cutter 1 is not being utilized. But to better understand what's going on, we should actually look at the long-term statistics. For this, we select statistics from the left side pane, select our process, and then look at what happened in the last 10 days. And what we now see is the cycle time across our process and on average. And we also see how many parts we have made in total. So in this case, we made 1,697 parts. They are divided into 3 different product groups. And given that we know how much time the factory has been opened based on the shift settings and breaks, we can calculate the production rate. So in this factory, we have 1 part leaving the factory floor every 12 minutes and 32 seconds. You will see the individual items take a little longer, but on average, one of them is done every 12 minutes and 32 seconds. We also had 133 parts on the shop floor on average as work in process. Again, broken down by product groups, from which we can estimate the average lead time for a product in this factory to be 2 days and 12 hours. If you want to bring this down, one way to do this is reduce the work in process. The other is to increase the production rate. And we can do this by inspecting what is actually going on your line. The bottleneck seems to be cutter 1 with 3 minutes 44 seconds per item. It also seems that it is used more than cutter 2, which has a lower cycle time, and balancing the line better here might help. But before we can actually make decisions, we have to get to the bottom of this and actually look at the station statistics. Before we do that, one more plot here is the throughput. Here you see the cumulative throughput over the last 10 days, but you can also see the fluctuations. And what you see here are some quite dramatic fluctuations. So this day we only made hats. This day we mostly made face masks and so on. This is something you probably cannot control. It is probably driven by the orders as they come in. All right, let's go and look at the station statistics of cutter 1. We navigate there on the map and select the statistics button. And so what you see here is 1 day only, which is not very instructive. And so what we now can do is we can look at the overview. You see the productivity seems to be very high, but this depends on the takt time that you have actually set in the overall process. So in order to bring the productivity down to a value that is more reasonable, you have to change that there. I can show you this for the OEE. Right now we have an overall equipment effectiveness of that station to be 57%. Again, this depends on what you actually set. What we can do is we can look at this here and say, I want, or I think I can do 1 part per minute. And if I reach this, then I want 100% OEE to be reached. I can also say I just bought a new machine, which should be able to make 2 parts per minute if it is used in the most effective way. and when I press save, my OEE goes further down. So again, this is a value that you can set to see what's going on, but it's not very instructive unless you think very hard about what you want to achieve here. More interesting is the average production rate over time, which has gone down. So the rate has gone up and the time has gone down for the heads. You can look at the other product groups and you have similar metrics here. I can look at the throughput per station, but also very interesting, I can look at the fluctuation of WIP. And we see WIP is pretty constant here. There are better days and worse, but this will also help you to understand what actually has been going on at the station. So there you now can see the station reports over time. There haven't been very many. We had fabric jam happening 3 times, lens was dirty 1 times, which again helps you to understand what's going on and why these numbers are like they are. If you want more information, you can always add additional report buttons per station. We can see the different product groups that came through this station, and we can see the different operators had we chosen to select different operators at that station. Now, there are 2 very important metrics down here. One is the machine utilization. And what that is we know that the shop floor is open, let's say, for 8 hours a day. And we can actually look at the percentage of time that something happened at this station. Now, this station was idle for 83% of the time, which either means that there was no work in process at that station and the worker was actually idle, or it means that the station simply hasn't been manned. If you better want to understand what goes on, have a look at the value creating time at this station. The value creating time is the time, the percentage of time a lot is actually being worked on versus sitting, waiting. In this case, the value creating time is 4.7%. And what it means that 95% of the time that the lot has been spending at cutter 1 has been waiting for getting processed. So that means that your machine utilization is most likely low due to understaffing, and you might want to send more people manning that station to move these numbers up and move your cycle time down and therefore improve your overall flow.